everyone and welcome back to my channel. This week I'm going to be talking to you about Veganuary. So throughout January I took the pledge to sign up to going vegan for the entire month of January. Obviously we're at the start of February now, so it is completed, and I'm happy to say that I managed it throughout the whole of January. So no meat, no dairy, no animal derived food products at all did I consume throughout January. So what I wanted to do with today's video was just to take you through how I found it, any benefits that I found from being completely vegan for a month, and things that I found difficult, things that helped me through it, and yeah, just a bit of an overview about it, just in case you're considering going vegan or thinking about reducing your meat or dairy intake, and just maybe where to start and any little tips that I might have picked up throughout my month of being vegan. So first of all, I'd like to just quickly explain why I decided to do Veganuary. So 2 years ago, I decided to give up meat and fish from my diet. I ate meat and fish throughout my whole life up until that point, and what led me to that was I watched a few documentaries on Netflix. I'm sure you've heard of a lot of them. A few that I did watch: What the Health, Cowspiracy, Forks Over Knives, and I watched a few YouTube videos as well. I also read a couple of books that gave me a bit more information about the vegan lifestyle, or what meat does to our bodies, what it does to the environment, and things like that. So throughout 2017 I flitted between eating meat, not eating it. I would go a few weeks without it, then I would go back to it, and that's pretty much how it went throughout the whole of that year. Until it came to the point, and it was the start of December of that year, that I then thought, you know what, I don't feel the need to eat meat anymore. I don't want to. It was a gradual thing throughout the year. Didn't do it just suddenly like that, and I decided December 2017 I was no longer going to eat meat and fish in my diet. Obviously through watching these documentaries, reading the books that I have, I've been very aware that dairy is not very good for us either. And I have gone through periods, like I did when I started cutting meat out. I've gone through periods in the last couple of years where I'll eat dairy, then I'll reduce it and go maybe a couple of weeks without having it, and just have little bits here and there, and that's how it's sort of gone. And obviously I've been aware of Veganuary for the last few years. I don't know when exactly it started, but I know it's been around a little while now. And this year I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do a whole month of being completely vegan and see how I feel without any dairy in my diet, because obviously I'm used to not eating meat now, but it's the dairy, it's in everything. If you look on the back of the packets of any food, nearly everything seems to have milk in it. So even products that you wouldn't think have got dairy in have dairy in. It's ridiculous. Crisps, for example. If you eat a bag of crisps, you think there's not going to be dairy in this, it's potato. But there's milk in a lot of crisps. If they can make them without, because there are some without milk, why would they make them with milk? I don't understand. So to start with, a few things that I found that made things easier for me were to take meals that I really enjoy, and this goes for me doing the last month of vegan, and the same when I gave up meat a couple of years ago. Take a couple of meals that you really like and try and make them vegan or vegetarian. Okay, so examples of this for me were lasagna, chili I love, roast dinners, things like that. And then I have a really big sweet tooth, so things like brownies, finding the alternatives and how you can still make them and have them as part of your diet but without the meat and dairy in. One way in which I do this is cookbooks. So when I first gave up meat and fish, I invested in a couple of cookbooks, not vegetarian ones. I did actually invest in vegan ones, because I thought it was something I was interested in, and I knew that I would perhaps go towards a bit more in the future, so I just went for vegan cookbooks. With cookbooks, I find that sometimes you'll buy a cookbook, spend £10 or however much on it, and then you'll only make one recipe from the whole book. So I have done that with a couple over the years, but I have found a couple that I go to time and time again, so I thought I'd share them with you today. So first of all, I have the Deliciously Ella cookbook, so the plant-based cookbook, and this one is amazing for really healthy choices. And the main ones that I tend to go to in this book are for the main meals, like your evening meals, and I absolutely love them. I have tagged the ones that I have made, and as you can see with the little pink tags, I've made quite a few out of it. So, and I just go back to the same ones again and again. Every few months I'll then try a new one. I've made the courgette and pepper and red pepper muffins from here, which are a good breakfast on the go idea. I've made the, let me have a look. I made my own falafel, so baked sweet potato falafel, that one there. But I have to say, the two recipes that I use the most out of this book are the pea and watercress soup, although I don't put the watercress in it. So I changed it because I always have spinach in the fridge, and I changed the watercress out for spinach. So I make a pea and watercress soup, and if you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen me making this on my stories quite a few times. I absolutely love it. It's so simple and easy, and it tastes so good, and me and Carl absolutely love this recipe. The other one that is my go-to from this recipe book has got to be her brownies. They are incredible. So the fudgy brownies, they are so good, and they make, it says makes 15 on here, and they're just amazing. They're so fudgy and just amazing. They don't actually have chocolate in them. The only chocolatey thing is the cacao powder. So cacao powder, coconut sugar, almond milk, coconut oil. I think it's the coconut oil that gives it the fudginess. Chia seeds, flour, and then you can sprinkle some walnuts on the top as well if you want to. But these are my go-to. Like I said, I've got a sweet tooth, so these I will make and have a little bite in the evening to just keep my sweet tooth at bay. They're amazing. So that one, Deliciously Ella, I know she has a couple of books out, but this one is Deliciously Ella, the plant-based cookbook, and that's what it looks like. The next book, and I follow Ella on Instagram as well, but this lady I follow as well, and she's brought out a couple of cookbooks, and I have two of hers, but this one is definitely my favourite, which is the first one she brought out. It's Lucy Watson's Feed Me Vegan cookbook, and as you can see, again, I've made a lot of recipes out of here. And what Lucy's are really good for, I find, is those recipes that the meals that you ate before, making them vegan. If you're craving that lasagna, for example, this book has an amazing lasagna in here, and it just tastes incredible. I love her 3-bean chili. No, it's not a 3-bean chili, it's a black bean chili. I've also made her spaghetti bolognese. Her burgers are amazing. I've made both of them, and it was the black bean burger that was my favourite. There's the black bean chili. I go to that. It's such an easy one to make in bulk, and then you can have it during the week. And another favourite of mine is her spinach and pesto pasta, which is amazing. I've made it for Carl, I've made it for my parents when they've come to stay, and again, there's soups in here, stir fries, breakfast ideas. Avocado on toast is a winner. Banana bread, I love banana bread. In fact, the one out of the Deliciously Ella book is the banana bread that I tend to go to as well. So cookbooks are a great way to figure out what you can make with foods that are vegan, because a lot of people say, well, what do you eat if you don't eat meat and dairy? What do you eat? Have a look at the cookbooks and you'll be amazed the variety of foods that you can have. Since I cut out meat from my diet, and even now dairy, this month, my horizons have been broadened so much for what I eat, and I have eaten foods that I would never even have looked at or even thought about trying before. So yeah, it's just opened my mind to all different kinds of food. Another thing that I find that has helped me is when eating out, because obviously we all come across this hurdle at some point, and I downloaded an app on my phone. It's called Happy Cow. I'll show you what it looks like, and it's basically, you can go on the app and you can search for any vegan, vegetarian, or even any normal restaurants in your area. So restaurants that do vegan options or vegetarian options, or restaurants that are completely vegan or vegetarian. Search nearby. So it's got, type in your location there, and then it will come up and it will give you vegan, vegetarian, or whatever options you want, and then it will search in that area local to you restaurants that you can go to. And I have found some incredible restaurants using that app. I've found amazing vegan places in Brighton, Bournemouth, London are amazing. If you've seen my Carl's birthday trip to the Shard in London, you'll see we went to a couple of vegan restaurants then. That just blew my mind. So that's really helpful. So download that on your phone, and yeah, that'll help you out massively. So it's not all been easy, obviously. Some difficulties I have had this month with Veganuary. I went to North Yorkshire with work for, ended up being a week and a half, and I stayed in a little hotel in the middle of nowhere pretty much. It was a tiny little village. It had a couple of pubs, had a co-op, and yeah, not much else, to be honest. So the first night that I stayed there, me and a work colleague went down to into the pub that we were staying in and had dinner. There were absolutely no options on the menu for a vegan. They had one or two vegetarian options, but they weren't really dishes that you could like make into a vegan option. Say, can I just not have the cheese off the top? And they were like mixed in. So you can ask, obviously. A lot of places do say if you've got any dietary requirements, then just let us know and we'll see what we can do for you. But on this occasion, it was only a very small pub. I didn't want to inconvenience anyone, so I literally sat there with a bowl of chips and tomatoes, ketchup. Obviously, the night after, I went a bit further afield. I looked at other pubs in the village, and again, none of them had any vegan options. So I had to resort to going a little bit further, and luckily where I was working, there was a bit of a cinema complex and stuff, so there were restaurants and things there. I ended up going to a Tesco's, because they all have wraps and sandwiches and things now. So I did kind of live in the evening off sandwiches from Tesco's, or the co-op that was in the village did a really nice duck wrap. And there was a Subway where I tried out the meatless meatball marinara, thumbs up from me. And there was a Greg's. I think I only went there once for the vegan sausage roll, you know, so I didn't necessarily eat particularly healthy in that time. I wasn't eating healthy vegan food, but there was still, you know, it just showed the array of different places that actually do vegan food now. And it is possible, even though I was in a tiny little village, to find things that I could have. Another thing that I found really helped was I only had to worry about my evening meals whilst I was there for the week and a half, because what I did was on the Sunday before I travelled up there, I prepped my meals for my lunch. For breakfast, I just had toast in the hotel, and a bit of fruit. And for my lunches, I made a load of salads. So I just had salads with raw peppers, broccoli, sweet corn, spinach, sun-dried tomatoes, a bit of hummus on the top, a bit of falafel in there just cut up, and I made like 4 or 5 of those to last me for my lunch throughout the whole week, which came really useful because, again, at lunchtime they gave us lunches, but they were all sausage rolls, tuna sandwiches, cheese sandwiches, packet of crisps, and, you know, just rubbish basically. So prepping meals is something else I have found to make things easier as well, so that you've always got food with you wherever you are on the go. And then if you need to rely on just eating a wrap from a supermarket, then it's not too much of a big deal if you've got a couple of your meals sorted already with you. Some other things that I find really helpful, or I have found really helpful through Veganuary, is following people on Instagram. There's so many people out there now who have vegan food accounts, and YouTube as well, searching videos on YouTube that they give you tips, they show you what they eat in a day, and I just find that it gives you ideas, and again broadens your mind to other possibilities of what you can have and what meals you can make. And there's so many options. A lot of people, when they first think vegan, they're like, well, what do you eat? But when you think about it, there's so many. And nowadays, you know, people are bringing out all these alternatives. I try and be as healthy as I can with it and not rely on the alternatives and the processed foods, but sometimes, every now and again, it's, you know, it's not gonna hurt. So yeah, So follow people on Instagram, find the ones you like, and Pinterest is another really good place to look for recipe ideas. And then obviously I'm sure you're all dying to know what benefits I have found from going a whole month without meat or dairy. So a couple that I would say that I've noticed. So my skin, you'll probably even notice it, and I think I can see it from this video to my first and second video. So I think if you look at my video of when I went to the Shard with Kyle, my get to know me video, I think at the start of the month when I was cutting dairy out and I'd just gone a week or two without it, I think I found that I had a little bit of, I had got a couple of spots. I got like one on my top, like up here. I got a couple around my jaw area, which is where I'm prone to them. And I don't know if that was just my body getting rid of the crap that was in my system, but in the second half of Veganuary, I found that my skin looks so glowy and just clear that I can really see it when I look back at the videos. You can see how much brighter my skin looks. Also, I found that over Christmas, and I know we all overindulge a little bit, but I felt so sluggish, and you know, it probably was to the excessive amount of dairy I was eating, but this month, even if I've not been eating the healthiest of vegan foods, I've still found that I don't feel bloated, I haven't felt sluggish, and you know, I'll wake up in the morning and be able to get out of bed absolutely no problem, which has been really nice because obviously January, it's always a bit gloomy outside and it always makes getting up in the mornings on the dark mornings and coming back from work in the dark a little bit glum. So having that little bit more energy has been really good this month. But the biggest thing that I've noticed, and guys, if you're watching this, you might not be able to benefit, well, you won't be able to benefit from this at all. So girls that are watching this, that time of the month when you feel a bit gross, you feel really bloated, you have like pain in your belly, I got none of that. So, and this was halfway through the month, so after I'd not had dairy for just a couple of weeks, I had my period and I got absolutely no pain whatsoever. And usually when it's that time of the month for me, the day before I'm due on, I will get period pains in my stomach and it will be like the warning, it's coming. And I don't suffer really badly like I think some people do, but I get discomfort, bloating and pain especially the first 2 days. Absolutely nothing, you know, I got no symptoms, nothing throughout the whole of my period, and for that alone there's got to be a reason to try it, especially if you really struggle at that time in the month. Then it was just, that was the main thing that I noticed, that from last month was so much different to this month, and yeah, game changing. And for those of you that are wondering, am I going to now be vegan full time, the answer is no. I'm not going to label myself as being vegan, because the reason for that is I don't really like labeling anything. When I gave up meat, I found that you kind of forced into labeling yourself, because if you say, oh no, I don't have that, I don't eat meat, people are, oh, so you're vegetarian. So I wouldn't call myself vegan, because I'm not, everything in my life isn't completely vegan, and I know there's people out there that have really strict, they're really strict vegans, so they wouldn't have anything leather, you know, all that kind of stuff. And obviously I mean I do still have, like, I do have leather handbags and things like that, so I wouldn't want to call myself vegan, and then I just feel like it opens you up for people saying, well, you're not completely vegan because you've got a leather handbag and you've got this and you've got that and you do this and you do that. And it's just, I'm not trying to be perfect with it, I am just trying to do what I can to help myself, help the environment, and yeah. And I find that there are those people, and I know we should just try and ignore them, but you say I don't eat this and they'll say, oh, but you're wearing leather boots, you know, oh, you hypocrite, blah blah blah. You know, I'm like, I'm not striving to be perfect, I'm just trying to do better than I have done in the past, and I think any little change that we can make is going in the right direction. Will this make me eat less dairy? yes, I will strive to eat as little as I possibly can, and I feel really motivated actually to just carry on with the no dairy as well, but I'm not going to say that I will never eat it again. I will just keep it to a minimum. And yeah, so that's my little rant about that. So no, I'm not going to be labelling myself as a vegan for various reasons, but I am going to strive to be as vegan as I possibly can. And obviously if you watched my last video, you'll see that I already use beauty products. I've transferred over to being vegan and cruelty free and natural, so I'm making moves in that direction. But no, I'm not going to label myself as a vegan from here on out. So hope that clears that up, because I'm sure I would have got questions about that if I hadn't answered that question in this video. So yeah, so they are my tips and pointers for Veganuary. I hope this video was informative. It's not something obviously I've ever really spoken about before, and I won't go into all the sciencey stuff, because you know there'll be people out there on YouTube and stuff that will be able to talk about all the science and research behind it a lot better than I can. Yeah, I hope it's been useful to see how I found it, and little tips to make things easier. And if you're considering giving up meat and dairy, or cutting it out a little bit, because I wouldn't recommend, like I didn't, cut it out suddenly. If you're thinking about maybe having one meal one day a week where you cut out meat and dairy, then great. And that's sort of how I started, so little by little, and just see how you go with it. And any little change that we make is going to benefit us and the environment and the planet basically. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and please hit the subscribe button if you would like to see more videos. Just remember, I post every Sunday. I hope to see you back here for my next one. Thank you, bye.